Good morning. Where's the happy table? All right, so I unfortunately, in my mind, prepared a 1-hour presentation. Cameraman, sorry, I walk a lot, like a leopard. So I got to do it in 30 minutes, probably be a little bit longer. But what I want to talk about is issues that we have in data centers. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in the data center business a long time. I've worked in India. I've worked all over Asia, in the U.S. And the one thing that I've seen now, I'm very happy, is that we've gone to the next generation of change in the IT business. And that's the change I want to talk about and what we're going to do about it. So in real estate, your key to success, they tell you, is location, location, location. But if you want to be successful today in IT, it's all about efficiency, efficiency, and efficiency. You're going to need to have efficient operations, efficiencies in your manpower, how we're using. In India, we tend to hire a lot of people. Could we do with less people, more talented people, with different infrastructure? Whoops, I hit the wrong button. There we go. What are we going to do with our compute and storage resources? How efficiently are we using them? How efficiently are we responding to our customers, our business needs? And how are we doing about our electricity? It's getting more and more expensive. So these are the things that happens to us every day. Our customers complain, oh, it's taking too long, you guys are so slow. You know, how come the other company can beat us? So what they're going to say to you is, if you don't respond to me, there's an option now. I could go to a third-party cloud provider and say, hey, you know, I don't need you. And it's happening in some parts of the world. Some big companies, some departments, the marketing people, they go off and do their own thing. We don't want that because there are security issues. There are legal issues. There's access to data issues. We don't want that to happen to us. We've got to look at efficiencies. But what are our challenges? And this one I'm going to do pretty quick because all of you know these. Well, the number one problem we have is for the last 20 years, we've been teaching silos. Okay? We have a facility team that does our facilities. We've got a sales and marketing team that gives us advice or demands. We have a business planning team to tell us what we're going to be doing in our data center. Then we have our server team. Then we have our storage team. Then we have our networking team. Then we have our virtualization team. Then we have our DBAs. And then we have our security team. I hope you have a security team, guys. If you don't, that's what to look for next year. We have multiple application teams. Come on, this is India. We have thousands of application developers. We have all these projects going. Then we have our integration and test team. And you know what? By the time the business people give us the requirements, it could take us months or years. Because it's going to take us a few months for the server guys to decide what server they want. It's going to take us a few months for the storage guys to decide what storage they want. And it's going to take us a few months for the apps people to decide what they're going to run on Linux or Java or whatever. And our networking team, you know, they've got to evaluate everything. That's our problem. We've got too many departments. Everything is not joined together. We're not running as one machine. And this is what we want to talk about today. Oh, by the way, there are more challenges because we have our business objectives. We have, agility to make changes fast. Can you make things happen fast? Can you make resources happen? Oh, can you support big data for me? Oh, can you track customers for me? Oh, management comes to you and says, oh, hey, by the way, you don't have any budget. And, we need a plan and plan and plan. And whatever our business, these are all the things that come to us, and it's huge issues. I could go out and buy some proprietary system. There are a couple of them out there, but they're proprietary. And the one thing I personally want to stay away from is things that vendor lock-in. And at Dell, we're going to show you today what we talk about when we say an open solution. All right, I'm going to skip these. Gartner says the solution now is to do a converged infrastructure. Well, at Dell, we think it's more than that. Because convergence is not about server, storage, and network. Convergence is about what is my business policy, what is the application, What is the operations and management? It's not just about infrastructure. If you go and look at the products that are out there today for convergence, those products are designed to about infrastructure. And at Dell, we think it's much more than that. So we're going to talk about things about how we're going to manage operations, how we're going to manage applications, and how are we going to service all of this. So what is in it? I always like to say, if I'm going to adopt a new technology, I like to know why. Not because some guy in Austin said it's a great idea, but why? So I look at this and said, wow, when I look at a converged network, converged data center, I look at it as nothing new. You know, my bio, you can see I've been doing this for, everybody here said 20 plus years. Unfortunately, I just passed the bigger number. You know, and it's still the same after 30 years. We're still doing the same kind of approach. In those days, we didn't have so many different departments in the mainframe business. It was much more unified. So this is not new technology. This is not a new approach. So what it is, it's an enabler for you to get some agility, some speed, lose some weight, get a little faster. Collect and be a collective kind of environment versus being these isolated departments. Okay, so how many network administrators in your team love the server people? Okay? This conflict of egos has actually come up with a new term called DevOps. If you want to do any research in the next generation computing, there's a new technology called DevOps. It has nothing to do with computing. It's actually a study or a way to getting groups to work together. How do you have a round table of not CIOs, but server storage and networking people, applications people all on one table with business people, and all coming to the same conclusion. So why do I want to do this? Because easy to manage, faster to deploy. I'll show you this piece here, faster to deploy. Yesterday, our friends from Microsoft said they had this nice thing, and they were able to bring it up very quickly. Well, we actually know that particular environment for a particular reason, and we can show you the tools that were used to bring that thing up very, very quickly. So we have that environment that we can bring up a whole data center very, very quickly. So why do I want to converge? Because I've got to be agile. I've got to be quick. I've got to be efficient. That's why. So let's cut to the real stuff. So here is an example of a unified solution, a converged solution. So on here we can have our Exchange, our SharePoint. By the way, this is what we call the guest OS. And what my friend at Microsoft forgot to tell you yesterday, that not only does it run Microsoft server, if you run Hyper-V, you can also run Linux on here. So your guest OS can also be Linux. We had that discussion yesterday. But this is an example of a bundled, integrated, pre-tested, pre-installed, pre-cabled solution for you. We have our Blade server, we have internal power, internal storage, and our networking. I'm going to get into the detail of this in a minute, because I think, even though we are here as they told me this was more of a thinking environment than products, I still want to show you something that's relevant to you. So, why do I want to do this converged? Again, I have to respond quickly. I have to maximize the resources I have. Do you know what resources are available at a particular moment in time? Well, I don't, because I can't go out and scan all of the devices. What I need is a tool or tools to tell me what's available. VMware will tell me something, Hypervisor will tell me something, but what is the network availability? Okay, what is the network of it? Can I use that IP address on this subnet, on this port, or does that IP address belong in Pune? That's something that networking people do, and today we do it. I think somebody said yesterday, if you want to add a service at the university, it takes 2 or 3 weeks. Why? Because I need to go see what VLANs are available, what IP addresses are available, how much bandwidth is available, blah, 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 blah. And I got to figure all that out. And it's not available here, so I got to move it here. Right? These are the things that we at Dell think about. And as someone who works in this next generation thinking process, we have to think about how can I do this automatically. The one thing I am, if you ever hire me as a data center guy, you'll find out I'm the laziest data center guy. I want tools to do everything for me. Why? Because it can do it faster, it can work 24 hours a day, and it doesn't make mistakes unless I tell it something bad. So I'm looking for something that I can integrate my applications, integrate my hardware, and I need a nice, simple management tool, and I'm going to introduce that to you. And then I need a modular infrastructure that I can grow with. So, since we are limited on time, we're going to get right to the fun stuff. So, we at Dell on October 18th or 19th, we introduced a new product called Dell Active Infrastructure. I can't call it AI because that has better meaning. So active infrastructure is really the tools for you to bring everything together in an environment that's easy to manage, quickly I can deploy, and I can grow. So here's our first example. This is the M1000E chassis. Where is my pen? That's the M1000E chassis. This is our 12th generation. The chassis has been around for a while. It's still a very good chassis. This has our new 12th generation cards. This one I can have, in this particular configuration, I have 24 24 nodes, and we'll talk about the detail of those 24 nodes, and I can put in 2 equal logic storage arrays. So I have 2 equal logic storage arrays, I have 24 computers. And with the Force 10 MXL or the IOA, which is these are 10 gig switches with 40 gig uplinks. So I want to talk about, and the nice thing about it, it comes with a single management UI. All right, we're going to talk about the details of this because this is where I think the value is at. All right, let's do the math. So the PowerEdge M420 is a quarter height card. I can put 24 of them, and it's 4.7 T of RAM, and there's 24 nodes, 2 socket, 8 core. That's 384 cores. All right? I can put in 14 drives at 1 T, that times 2. It's 25 T total, depending on how I'm going to do it, redundancy or not. So I've got 25 T. And with the MXL, it's 10 gig to the node and 40 gig to the backplane. Now, if you're a startup company or smaller company, you probably don't need the uplink just yet. All right? Now, why is this cool? Because I have only 6 power supplies and 4 cables. And those cables, 2 to the internet, 2 to the firewall. That's it. So let's compare. All right, I'm going to do this in a 32U. All right. So 24U I'm going to use here. How many power supplies do I need? Power cables. In a 24 1U boxes, how many power cables? Huh? 24 is wrong. It's 48, random, redundant. All right, we have 48 power cables. How many optical cables? How many Ethernet cables? 48 plus the 4. All right. So, how many cables are here? How many cables do you see? To connect 24 servers to storage arrays connected at 10 gig. There are no cables. No cables. Why is this interesting? Why is this interesting? Because today, If you guys came last year, we talked about the traffic changes. Traffic changes is now east to west. So when the traffic comes in, if I have my web server here, but my SQL server down here, instead of going out to the network and back, I'm going to the back plane. Okay, this is redundant. There's 2 NIC cards in here. There are 2 fabrics. Actually, there's 6 fabrics. There's ABC, ABC. It's redundant. There's 3 fabrics. If you look at somebody else's solution from my big friends at the Big C, they have 1 fabric. I have 3 fabrics. 1 for I can do for networking. 1, hey, I want to do fiber channel. 1, I want to do iSCSI. Well, iSCSI is built in here. I could do it just on the first one. But I have 3 fabrics to choose from. So highly redundant, because of redundant fabrics. I have redundant NIC cards in each of the cards. So it's fully redundant. I don't have any cabling. I have 6 power supplies. I only need 3 plus 1 to run it. All right? Think about your energy saving. Think about your maintenance. Think about real estate. Because all of this fits in a 10U rack. Think about the cooling compared to cooling one of these. So this is what our tradition is. And now, by the way, if you're doing like a big, there's a lot of data centers that still need this. A lot of HPCs still use this kind. But this one, for most enterprises, because our traffic is east-west, we have our local storage here, I can run this for most of my customers or my branch offices. Now, what happens when I outgrow this? Well, I have 40 gig up. Right? I connect another one. I connect it together using 40 gig, using VLT, virtual link trunking, or stacking. So I can connect these huge, huge devices together. And now, if I don't put storage in there, by the way, and I just do 32 nodes, 32 compute nodes, that's 512 core in 10U. This is what's cool. And 1 management UI. 1 out-of-band management UI, a cable. Versus how many IP addresses do I need to assign here just for management? How many cables do I need? So, what runs this? So this year we've announced, last month we announced our Dell Active Systems Manager. And yeah, we don't normally show products to you guys, but I want to show you why I like it. Why? So it has 6 components to it. 1 is to look at your workload. Understand what the software is doing and how it runs. 1 is a workload migration, how I move things around, automating my IT processes, infrastructure lifecycle management, centralized management, and it's got a really nice, wizard. So here's the stack. I got my hardware, I got my deployments, compute, storage, network management, my hypervisors. It's really designed. So we have special versions of these. We have 1 if you want to do VDI, you have 1 you want to do enterprise computing, 1 if you want to do kind of voice. So we have different configurations for you. And all of this runs on templates. All right, that's what you want to remember, templates. So here's the life cycle that I run through when I run a data center every day. Now, you can look at this and say, where am I today? I may be in design, I may be in integrating, configuring, operating support, or R&D. Where am I today? Where am I going to be tomorrow? But this is what we do every day. I know this. It's been true for 20 years. So how can I automate and do this with a policy that I don't have to sit here and look at you every day and remind you? I can set the policy, you guys can write the scripts, and we're done. That's what we're trying to do here. Make it simple. I love KISS. All right? So it's a modular infrastructure. I don't need to buy 24 servers. I can buy 5. I don't need to buy storage. But I can now, in a 10U, keep growing up until its max, and then I keep building. Then we have our convergence management tool. Hello, testing. Our convergence management tool. And then we talk about our delivery modes. What does this mean? This means when you order this from Dell, you will get it shrink-wrapped, either a full rack or these products all pre-installed, pre-configured for you. Okay? It's going to be done for you. The cabling, if you buy the V-Start, the whole rack is cabled for you, nicely, cleanly. Why do I like that? It's because I can just put it in and get it running. How many times do you guys have to do all the design and figuring out? So there's another tool which I don't have time to introduce called Dell Fabric Manager that works in conjunction with this. The Dell Fabric Manager configures your network. You put in your default IP, you put in your upstream gateways, you put in all this information, and it will actually design, do a BOM for you, tell you how many cables you need, what kind of optics you need. It does this whole design for you. It's called Dell Fabric Manager. Ask your account team for that. It's free. Okay. Currently, it doesn't run all the Dell networking products. It runs just a few of them, but it's a great tool to look at, to examine. That's going to be integrated into here. So I have my converged management tool, how I deliver as a completed solution. So I don't have to think, oh, what am I going to do here? Am I going to test? I don't need that test team to go and test the connection between my server and my storage and my network and everything. I don't need that done. It's done for me. So, problem. I've got a lot of teams, a lot of departments. We talked about this. The solution, get together and start creating and defining your infrastructure. Define your template once. What is the template for a SQL Server? Okay? What is the template for VoIP? What is the template for Hadoop? What is the template for Outlook, Exchange? Deploy that many, many times, and then you manage it. And then we go back through the cycle again. So this is the life cycle management tool. We go out and we discover what's out there. We have these tools from Dell that will go out and discover what you have, and it'll come in and configure it. Then it looks for the templates that you want. It does all the BIOS updating, the boot order, RAID levels, does all of this provisioning for you. It sets all of the failures and all the server repurposing. All that's done for you. So then you can decide, you don't need OSs yet. That's really where you're going to see some tools from Microsoft and from us on and from VMware on what goes on top of that. That's where your VMs come on top of that. And then, so I want to build these templates. So we'll show you these different kind of templates. You build your own for each workload. So you build a different template, and I can decide where that goes. We have including things like our service tag. By the way, if you haven't seen the 12G, it's very cool. Our 12G servers. There's two things about that I'd like you to remember. One, for India, we actually have a high temperature version. We call that fresh air. Can work in India probably up to about 35, 40 degrees. Why is that important? If you want to talk about these new data centers, I do a class on new data center design. If you look at the new data centers, they're actually building these small rooms with these different temperatures in each room. And some of the rooms, they can now raise the temperature by 5 or 6 degrees. So I ask you, what is the savings to you if I change the room temperature by 5 degrees? By the way, they're not cooling the room, they're only cooling the rows, using plexiglass to seal it in. If I can cool just that area, so less real estate, I have power-saving switches, I have servers that will go down and use less resources and less power when they're not in use. I have tools from VMware and from Dell that will move resources to a single server or to combine it into a server so that I can save power on servers not being used when I don't have a huge workload. By the way, for me, the number one issue in 2013 is going to be electricity and how to reuse the resources I have. And this is where these tools, because these tools will work with your existing infrastructure, except these management tools. So you'll be seeing some news from us on how to do this. So simple wizards, make your decisions, test them out, you're done. So make it look graphical, easy for your manager to look at. Build a BOM for me, build a template, build documents. When you do the Dell Fabric Manager, it actually builds a cabling plan for you. Connect this cable to this cable to this. So these are the cool things that we're doing now. So it's a single point of control. We look at how we can manage and control everything. So, wow, I finished on time. So, computing, bring it all together. This technology, I can expand, I can shrink. By the way, when I say efficiency, in today's world, it's not about growing. It's about growing for the accounting department today, shrinking tomorrow, expanding for R&D tonight. All this has to be done in real time. Real time. Today we're doing it manually. The Force 10 switches have VMware Hypervisor and Zen Aware tools. What does that mean? That means when I move a VM from switch 1 and rack 1 to rack 10, switch 5 on port 3, that's where I'm moving the VM to. When I move it with VMware, VMware moves it. That's fine. There's a problem with that port. VLAN 212, which is my VLAN for that VM, is not on that port. Who knows what happens to that VM? Man, those bright lights are right in my eye. What happens to that VM? It dies. But with the Force 10 products, we will recognize that there was a VLAN on that port for that VM, and I'm going to move that VLAN with it. So these are the big changes. So we want to do things automatically. You can manually do it. Okay? This is what I want to get away from. I want to get away from that. Why? Because all of you run data centers, and now I'm going to say something that's not so nice. In a data center, we usually have 1, 2, or 3 people who really know what they're doing. You know who in your team you can rely on. Then you have a lot of people on your team that are learning. I don't want people who are learning to mess with my computers. Some of our big customers that we have in the US, we have scripting on our switches. And they actually run a script, a Perl script at night that says, do not allow anyone without root access to change anything on my switches. Right? Why? Because I don't want the junior people at night who just finished his CCNA and said, well, if I flush these tables, the network will run faster. And when he flushes that, my tables, my whole network dies. Okay? So we want to control these things. We want the people who know what they're doing to build the templates for us. We can then test them and then deploy them many, many times. If you want to know how our friends yesterday, they talked about how they can quickly build out their network. They're using a tool called, from Force 10, Dell Force 10, called our Open Automation 2.0 bare metal provisioning. That's part of these tools that will automatically provision your switches for you. They'll set up the OS, the IP address, the config files. So we have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the help, we have the support team. As you know, our tech support for networking comes out of Chennai. We have about 300 or 400 people now in Chennai. I think more than that. That's my last I heard. That can support you. So we just launched this product. Our beta customer said, hey, with this product, I can leverage my team, my infrastructure, and I can improve my efficiency and my errors. By the way, you know what happens when you do a provisioning error? The wrong VLAN on the wrong port, or the wrong password on a wrong switch? You know what you have to do. You guys have all experienced it. I want to get away from that. I want to get away from human error. I can improve myself 25, 30% on just stupidity. Okay? It happens. I've done it. I got fat fingers. I've mistyped information. All right? That happens. So, in conclusion, since I'm on time, Dell, we're going to bring you some innovative changes to your world. I want you to start to think about things that we've been talking over the last year about. Flat networks, we call distributed core. Okay? Our new SDN, software. What I haven't talked about is what I'm going to talk about next time, which is how all of this works with our software-defined networking tools. SDN. If you don't know SDN, Google, find out about it. Software-defined networking, open flow. All of this works, by the way, using OpenStack. So we are standards-based. This is OpenStack stuff. When we start showing you, today we have SDN already in a couple of our switches. That's OpenFlow, standards-based. So we do have the APIs, but we're looking at this differently. We're not looking at OpenFlow and SDN for networking. We're looking at it for the whole network, whole infrastructure. Applications, server, storage, everything. With that, thank you.